So as our first order of business, we have the minutes, motion to approve them. Any discussion on the minutes from this meeting?
Do you want to do introductions?
Oh,
first?
I should, yes. Introduce Eric Greenberg, our new planning board representative. We can go around and introduce ourselves. I'm Nick Hill, the chair. And I guess we'll just. Hi.
Abby Queenan, sustainability manager, and I'm the staff liaison for the group.
Fred Motor, with Conservation Commission.
Eric Greenberg, the newest member of the planning board.
Steve Brown at large.
Erwin Silverstein, PBPC representative.
And I'm Barry Kaufman from the Finance Committee.
And hopefully you'll
Thank you. I
meet
look forward to
everyone
it.
else.
Yeah.
Welcome to the committee.
Sorry.
Okay, no, thank you for that oversight. The minutes. Wow, okay, one more we're just introducing Eric.
I don't need it. At least not to you, right?
Minutes of the last meeting, any comments or discussion? Accept comments. Second. We do need a roll. Yeah, okay, Michael?
Hi.
Fred? Aye. No, you can't really, Aye. Oh, aye, there.
I abstain. I was not here.
Oh, okay. I thought I heard you say aye. And I vote aye. ED working group.
Yeah, we don't have any information yet from AJ on the apartment dwellers contacts. He is working on it though, but he's also very busy with school and college and stuff like that. So we're at an impasse with that. And I think that the the process for a EV show, intermittent shows is in process. We're trying to find a location that won't have. We prefer not to deal with municipal lots, so we're working on private properties that might be willing to do this, starting in the fall, which would mean after September 30th.
I'm gonna just double check to see if there's any flexibility with use of lots, because I understand the liability concerns. But I'm hoping to figure out that might be an option. So I will get back to you on that, Paul. I haven't gotten a firm answer on that yet.
Yeah, and if not, I think that, there's church groups that might be interested. They have their own parking lots and stuff, and something central in town would, I think, be the way to go. I think that these EV will continue to sell despite the lack of incentives going forward. But, I think that, I think people will continue to be interested in these things, man. So hopefully we'll continue to be sort of showing those in a way that people can actually see them and drive them. So
Would you be looking at allowing people to demo them?
yeah,
Okay,
sure.
so that's
That's the whole purpose of
as
it. I mean,
opposed to-
sitting in one is like sitting in any other club.
Right.
Nobody cares, right? So yeah, they should be able to drive.
Yeah.
They have a working license, and that should be sufficient. We'll try our best. I think it'll work, actually. That's it.
Good. We had a schedule already. Embodied.
So Gabby and I met with our intern and we discussed a couple of work streams. One is to continue digging in on what embodied carbon policies may have been enacted in Massachusetts and other like towns, just to get a better sense of what's working, what's not. there's not a lot to go on there. So it's probably a limited amount of work. The second was to see if we could operationalize the concept of embodied carbon to give the planning board like one other perspective when looking at the large house guidelines. And so we went back to our trusty ChatGPT and asked it to help us build such a model.
Probably was.
And it actually came up with a pretty interesting essay, white paper on how to quantify the impacts of a tear down. So very, very high level, there's embodied carbon in the existing home and embodied carbon in the new home, how those things relate. And then there's the operational efficiency of the new home relative to the old home. The operational efficiency being far greater depending on the age of the house that is being torn down. And is there a break-even point with respect to the size of that house? So you could, think in an extreme case, going from a 1,000 square foot home to a 10,000 square foot home, even the efficiency gains will be outweighed, but maybe an all electric would still be able to, offset that. We don't know. So the mathematical model is something that we have a first draft of. I think our next step is to see if we can get some feedback from some subject matter experts to see if the mathematical model is based on real data. It's not hallucinating. It's not made up. We did use the premium version of ChatGPT, which actually has better reliability and goes sources. The sources tend to be more primary academic sources if you ask it to be. So we're in the evaluation phase on that.
Are you looking at carbon impact of site work as well, or strictly?
The demolition disposal of the old home is also factored into the equation.
But the fact that, I guess it's a hard thing to quantify that typically, if they're taking a house on a half-acre lot, even if they're still just putting one back there, they're gonna tear up most of the site.
So we're not looking, the model doesn't look at things like clear cutting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's more of a by tree by law.
Yeah.
We're looking specifically at wood, plaster, nails, diesel trucks,
Cause
heating, cooling, electricity.
even digging a hole has an enormous carbon.
So I don't think that's factored in.
Yeah. But it's a good start.
So we'll evaluate it, and then if it makes sense, it could be one other component of the proposal that I think is eventually going to make its way to town meeting.
And is this review just for residential?
We confined the model to single family.
Okay.
Yeah, we didn't look at.
There's gonna be some large.
We're not looking,
projects.
we're not looking at the multifamily. There's, additional efficiencies that you get out of multifamily that you don't get out of single family home. And I think the large house bylaw, my understanding, is primarily focused on the single family.
It is.
And this is something that I think in June already had raised it as something when we first. When Stephen and the committee did the first iteration of the embodied carbon report. Already thought it might be a useful thing to introduce as a concept during the September comment period of the Large House Committee.
Right.
Even if it's not a full report, just to say, well, what about?
Right. It's one other perspective to consider.
Why not consider it clear cutting trees? I understand it's a separate thing, but it's part,
Yeah.
frankly, some of the clear cutting is pretty significant. Look how large all the trees.
Yeah.
So it just feels like that ought to be part of.
Well, I would think that would probably be something that would get put into the comments for the tree bylaw committee, because the large house committee is not talking about clear cutting, right? They're only talking about FAR, height restrictions, setbacks.
It's just that invariably happens.
It's a harder.
It does.
It just almost feels like there ought to be something, at least for the people are aware. Because
It's a
there
harder thing.
aren't very many places where they don't rip down most of the
It's
trees.
a harder thing to quantify, I
True.
think. And
There's so much variability in how many trees take it down.
And, you know, in terms of how much earthwork is
If you do know how
done.
many are taken down, you look at the site, just like, you know, the house that was taken down.
Yeah.
Stop blowing, they can hide the trees they took down.
It's worth considering, you know, I think that if we were to find some like some sort of metric, like if you have a 2-foot diameter tree, what's the carbon impact of removing that tree? That potentially could go into this as well. But I'm not sure that the planning board is going to be able to weigh in on that. So I see that more as a tree by law. You know, if we're gonna protect our trees, or actually, quite frankly, the stormwater committee would be another one that could look at it, because how much water can a tree pull off of a lot, and then you clear cut it, what happens to them?
It becomes kind of an anecdote too, I think, you know, unless you take a broad assumption and that, you know, an area twice the size of the math just gets hairy as I think about it.
You'd have to put a lot more parameters in it, and I don't think that's what we're after, right? I think we're after more of a, you know, the planning board's not gonna use this data or this model to make a decision one way or another. But I do think having the information might tip how they present it to town meeting. And, you know, if they're going with a somewhat more restrictive, and it happens to be backed up also by the embodied carbon model, that could be one other argument. It could go the other way, right? It could actually be the size of the home is not really important until it's much greater than what we're talking about.
I think the clear cutting is important, and I think that's something that the tree bylaw committee is looking at. Whereas for the tear down, you know the house is coming down, there's gonna be too much variability in terms of how many trees on a particular project are gonna come down, so I don't know how useful that information might be, you know, for the tear down committee, but certainly for tree preservation, I think it's worthwhile, it's all right.
Stormwater.
And stormwater.
It's
It's a lot of water.
A couple of things, getting to the tree removal, are there any data that says there have been so many tear downs and there's some kind of a computation of the average number of trees? So tear down the possible.
I haven't seen anything. I can tell you that when we did the climate action plan committee, they did a tree coverage assessment for the town of Needham. I can't remember the exact figure. It is in our plan. It is in the plan. It says high. It was considered a number that made Needham fortunate. That from a carbon sink perspective, we have this.
Was it 84%?
I don't think it was that high.
78 or something, I mean, it was
Yeah.
surprisingly high.
It was high, and they said it's actually a pretty strong carbon offset for the town, and that we should try to protect it. You know, it's not like grow it, it's protect it. So I don't know what the impact of tear downs on average have on that coverage, and we do have things like town forest and a few other large.
I'm just wondering if there were data that here's tear down house A, there were two trees on the property, here's tear house.
There's
Turn out house.
anecdotal data.
Yeah, one of the issues has been that with the way that our permitting system works right now, we don't have records for trees that were removed prior to proposal coming forward for a building or the demolition permit. So that's one of the issues that the tree preservation planning committee has talked about, is if there's a way for the town to start keeping that information, but at this time there's not. And the assessment that Stephen described that already did a few years ago is probably the most comprehensive, looking at individual lots and just looking at Google Map data. But that kind of records we don't have right now.
Two other things, does the model assume a certain disposal site transportation distance, and does it assume something about the transportation vehicles as to whether they're
So,
Clean, were they green,
Oh.
green?
yeah, no, I think, the model doesn't get to that level of granularity. I think it looks at average disposal. Both from the tearing down of the old home, the hauling it away, and then the putting it into a landfill
I
primarily.
must assume some kind of travel distance to dispose.
Yeah, I could look at it and let you know whether or not there's some sort of variability in that. But I think it was mostly when we asked ChatGPT to produce it, we said, use averages for our sector of of Massachusetts. So, we were looking at Massachusetts, Needham, suburbs, primarily 1920s through the, 1960s, 70s, homes being torn down, stone, I'm sorry, wood construction. And then, average home size and the 1,000 to 2,000 range, and new homes going in, averaging the 3,000 to 5,000 square foot size. So it used a lot of sort of just basic metrics. But it didn't get it to the level where you could tune it to say, well, if you do it this way or that way, you would be able to tip the equation. So it's going to be a fairly blunt tool, but it will be one more perspective.
Start.
The Massachusetts, the Charles River Watershed Association did a study, a GIS study of the tree canopy coverage for towns that have many, of their land in the watershed. And, they looked at it in 2014 and 2021. And, Needham ended up with a 50% tree tree canopy coverage, 50%. And they estimated a 5.5% decline over that period of time. So that was 4 years ago. What we don't know is, I think that comes to about an average of 18 acres of tree loss per year over that 13-year span. What we don't know is whether it's accelerating or decelerating.
It's a good question. So I think the vacant lots, for the most part, been filled, right? There's very few vacant lots
But-
left.
Right,
There's
right.
still a fair number of half-acre lots that are being cut into two, aren't there? I mean, that's at least what I'm seeing around me. I don't know if there's any data on how much that's being.
But any loss has gotta be pretty much almost certainly from tear downs.
Share down.
Yeah.
We're not removing our own, our trees in the forest or anything, right? Most people don't remove trees, a handful, right? Right. Disease trees come down, so if you're losing that much a year, it's almost all coming from tear downs.
Good think so.
And it's a
Well, it
pretty
could be
significant number.
added, if that could also be added into the model.
So historically, I do think some of the out near Charles River Road, there actually were whole neighborhoods that were put in there in the last 10 years. So it may be in those areas where we lost the most significant number of trees. Not sure that in the last 10, 15 years it's been tear down. Going forward, it probably will be.
Gotcha. So there were some whole subdivision in that.
There,
Bell
several.
Lane, I think, was one.
Yeah.
There's a handful.
Yeah, where there could have been a lot of acreage cleared all at once.
Very large homes.
Yeah, Bell Lane is a bit large lots, large houses.
When did Bell Lane go in?
Some of those houses that didn't sell until, I would say, like up to like 2 or 3 years ago. So maybe like 5, 7 years.
To your point about the carbon equivalent for tree removal, I do think that the tree committee is going to look to this group to weigh in on that aspect. Because one of the challenges that the tree committee has is trying to help quantify the impact of tree removal to help justify any future movement towards a bylaw. So that might be separate activity, but I do think that's gonna be one area where this group could help to support those efforts.
That would be good. Does. Without getting too deep into the forest, does Ed Olson or anyone have a sense of Needham's tree makeup? When we get asked, maybe.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm sure Ed would be able to give you a rundown of like what kind of species we.
You know, will we
expect to
mostly,
see them.
It's gonna be typical.
well, but is it's, roughly 30% white pine,
I mean,
20% maybe, or even splitting up by hardwood and softwood, I would think makes a difference.
Yeah,
You
but
could
but I
do-
think you're gonna find is the ones that are in public land are gonna be largely those pine forests with some deciduous.
But
The
I
mix,
guess,
and everything in people's property,
A sense within residential.
yeah, residential is probably gonna be deciduous.
Ed could
if you
give
want.
you a high level, but one of the other issues has been we don't have a tree inventory yet. And funding was approved at the last town meeting to help start a tree inventory, so a very, very small portion. I think it's like 10% of our trees are being inventoried right now. But in terms of like that level of like granular detail for like percentage breakdown across types, I don't think we would have that until we do
Yeah.
the full inventory.
Am I right, the full inventory is still only gonna be public trees?
Yes, you are right. Yep,
Yeah.
and it's public shade trees, so they won't be going to the town forest,
Right.
but they'll be, walking down the streets. Where you have your shade trees.
So we need someone with a master's thesis.
So, a lot of time.
Anything need support from the.
I don't think at this time, I think Gabby and I just need to follow up and make sure we keep on a cadence.
Yes.
So that we have something to show in September.
Yeah, Shanti's on vacation right now, so we've been on pause for a little bit, but when she comes back, we're
I'll
gonna
be back on,
pick back up.
I need to be my vacation dates.
Okay, all right. Well, we'll be good to go for September, hopefully.
Okay. Review of sustainability managers.
Great. There's good number of things happening over the last month. Maybe I'll just slowly slide down the page, and if anyone has any questions on anything that's included, let me know. I'm happy to help clarify.
The phase one is this primarily to present what is or to make a proposal.
This is preparing first memo for the select board, but it would include some draft vote language for them to read through. So we met recently with Katie in her new role as town manager. And we'll be meeting with the new director of assessing on Thursday, Julie. And Chris Heap has all the language right now. So he's reviewing that. The goal would be to try to make a September meeting. If not, we'll go for it later in the fall.
And that does not require town meeting, but does it require select board approval?
Yes, it does. It does require a select board vote. And there's template vote language that Mass Development has that we've modified for the town. But that does require a select board vote.
And the principal impact of adopting it from the town's perspective is additional staff time to report the betterments,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly. The town is really just a pass through. But that's the biggest concern is any first staff time.
There'd be no other funding. Is required.
No.
Is there impact on taxes?
And we already do betterment assessments, so the technology that the town uses is already capable of handling that application.
Hey Gabby, just, I have a quick question. So just in terms of your time, what would this mean for you?
For pace, it wouldn't really have an impact, except that I would probably help with some of the advertising for the program with our commercial property owners. But aside from that, it's really the director of assessing, and it would go through their office.
Got it.
Just curious on number 4, the solar canopies. I know that you're constrained by municipal policies, is that? But how much are you affected, or is town solar affected by the various changes to the federal policies?
You mean in terms of the tax
Phasing out the
credits?
ITC and everything else.
Well,
I mean,
it doesn't help, certainly, but we're in the position right now where we don't have any solar projects under construction, so we're, yeah, just kind of at the mercy for the timeline that we've now been handed from the federal
Right.
government. It's possible that the Cogswell project might involve solar. That's one of the bid alternates, but that would be the closest we could
Yeah.
get to getting a solar project done in time to meet the new deadlines for the ITC credit for the feds. I
which
don't know if
is
we'll make that.
December 27th.
Yeah.
I can-
The good news is geothermal was left almost untouched, which is great because Cogswell is meant to be a geothermal project. And it's something that would be good to have on the table for discussion at Pollard as well. The deadline for that is 2034, I believe is the phase out, so, but we should be able to make that timing with those two projects if that's the way we decided to go. But we'll have to see, there's new guidance from Treasury that's supposed to come out later this month that will dictate the beginning of construction requirements, and that will certainly have an impact on what kinds of criteria the projects would have to meet to qualify.
Let's talk about 5 and 6 a bit. Your meetings with HMFH, the discussions, last night was the first public presentation of some options. So the sustainability things were in there. I did note that their original draft and their presented draft changed things a little bit. I think they were a little more aggressive when they first put it together, talking about net zero, and then their one talked about meeting low EUI goals and stuff. You talking about, I mean, I talk about what I saw and we saw, but kind of what you took away from that conversation.
Yeah, I mean, sure, so when I met with HMFH, it was like a very high level discussion about what the town's sustainability goals are right now, what are the objectives of the climate action roadmap, and how do they see sustainability being integrated into the discussions that will be had for community outreach. They are planning to have a sustainability focused workshop, which I'm hoping folks in this room will attend and online. So that was really like more high level. It wasn't focused on a commitment to this net zero as a commitment. What is the UI of this building? The goal is that Pollard will be able to meet the requirements for Eversource Path 1, which would be net zero. And there is an EUI requirement. They are in the process of modifying that EUI requirement. It's gonna drop. It's at 25 right now.
What's EUI?
Energy
Use
intensity. So it's like, what's the level of energy that's required to heat or cool 1 square foot of the building
So,
space?
yeah, what they have said, what they said kind of in their kind of design goals was that, you not only meet our stretch code, but low EUI, try to get, below EUI of other buildings in the town, which is very important in the design, in terms of the design of the building itself. I mean, we are talking about 250,000 square feet here. So this is a lot of building. And of course, the other piece of it is minimizing the operational costs of the building, which again, all that would do. Certainly, I think they will, and we would want them to look at, geothermal. And we think they'd have a good shot because,
A lot of property there.
well, let's put it this way, the most likely location, quite frankly, and I can take you through any piece of that you want. If it is DeFazio, right, we're on the edge of DeFazio, and we know we can do it here.
Yes.
I know I was talking to, Ken Sargent, they were doing some test wells for the DPW rebuild and ran into some problems, which is kind of interesting because Cogswell was able to do it, so they ran into some clay and other kind of. They're gonna be talking with the geothermal guys about that, but I was certainly, we were advocating very hard for this building. And again, I'll keep reminding people how efficient this building is, plus how cost effective, because there is zero fuel costs. It's like having solar in the building, right? Because it's all ground source heat pumps. Other than the electricity to run the pumps, there is no gas, there's nothing coming in the building. Not only no fossil fuel, but no fuel costs. So, I mean, that's certainly the way you would like to try to go. If you can, I'm sure HMFH will be, and the sign folks will be looking at that.
Yeah, I mean, my impression from them so far is that they're very gung ho about making sure sustainability is a priority for the project.
Yeah.
And they want to maximize the number of incentives that the project
Yeah.
can meet, which would be trying to get path one for Eversource and ideally trying to go after those tax credits.
Yeah.
As long as they're still viable. So I felt very confident with the conversation we had about the direction they want to go. I hope that they keep hearing from folks in the community that they want that to be a priority. I mean, I will say from the brief conversations I've had, I haven't heard a strong voice supporting sustainability outside of folks who are already on boards and committees for the town. So I
I
do
think
hope
that's
some other
largely because
voices-
when you think about this project, there's so many other things people are worried about first. It's not that they aren't. I think if you talk to people who care about this project and said, do you care about that? They'll probably say yes, but they're a lot more concerned about where's it gonna be, how big is it gonna be, how much it's gonna cost? Are we gonna meet all our needs? Are we gonna have, that's kind of that's what's in people's heads right now. I don't think they're at that
Completely
point
agree.
yet.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I'm just saying, I think there's gonna be a lot of community outreach for this project. I hope that the design team hears from voices outside of boards and committees that
Yeah.
sustainability is a priority so that.
Well, it's also just built into everything else. I mean, because of the wanting to keep reducing the maintenance of the building, wanting to meet our goals, and it's something that they do there in their buildings. A lot of places. I'm not worried about it not being, and I also don't see very many places where you would jettison it. It's not like you gain something by doing that.
Yeah.
But it's pretty sizable, and at this point, you're gonna start hearing more about it because last night the PPC was the first public. Fortunately, it was the PPC, not the school committee, so it's gonna get people bent out of shape too, but the first public view of the actual proposals. And it's one thing when you say, oh, it might be at Pollard, it might be at DeFazio, but now you've got like pictures showing buildings at Pollard and buildings at DeFazio. So it's, you're gonna start to hear a lot more about it. But
PVC will be a driver as well for sustainability and as much green, lead, those kinds of aspects. But it is very early in this process with MSBA.
I think,
That's
Grateful for
right,
the-
it's our first really.
the reality is when you look at their first series of things, which with the MSP, you've got to look at everything, including repairing the building, renovate, add all sorts of things. And, they show all their scenarios and no surprise, you go through an hour and you find that the best solution along all dimensions is a brand new building, probably at DeFazio, but certainly a brand new building or at the back 40 of Pollard, which will be obviously very helpful from an energy point of view as well.
I know the landscape's changing, Michael, in terms of grants and funding and the like, but is one of the plans to do similar to what the Lexington school system did when they went for their most recent building, which I believe had solar. It had heat pumps, it had backup storage on site.
I don't think we have talked about that, but certainly the heat pumps and the idea that solar is something you want to integrate. And of course, solar is much more likely and easier to be integrated in a building at the Fazio than at Pollard.
I
because the
think,
tree
I
cover.
think the presentation that I saw on it was that the backup storage on site was a multiplier effect on the ROI. That
Yeah.
because they didn't have to heat and cool the building
Yeah,
at the peak times of the day, the electricity rates
Yeah.
they were being charged, they could multiply the impact of the on-site solar.
yeah, that does make a lot of sense.
And I'm wondering if that's been discussed with our,
I think it's early. I think they're aware of it because I think they may have been involved in, I think they've done building listing then. But I'll make sure, yeah, we do talk about it when we get to that point.
I mean, it can be
It's
scary.
a really good point, actually,
It can be scary.
especially as there are more rates.
Yeah, it can be
The rates are
scary
gonna
because
change.
of the upfront costs.
Yeah.
But they did a cash flow analysis that showed that the cash flow
Yeah.
was net positive like on day one.
Yeah.
Because of the grants and rebates they were getting, and then the net metering and the selling the energy back to the grid when the school was closed.
Well, in the summer, I
Right,
mean, you
right.
sell lots of energy back to the grid.
Right.
When,
That was a big
when
issue.
basically the grid needs it, because all the office buildings are air conditioned and your school is air conditioned at a low level, obviously it can't be
Yeah.
turned off, you know, it damages the building, but there's still a lot of solar being generated, if you've got it. So, yeah,
We're starting conversations with Eversource's battery and storage team, and that,
it's good.
and the interconnection in particular is a major concern, so that's just in its infancy, but that's one of the conversations that's happening.
The interconnect, the bottlenecks they have on
Yes.
interconnectivity, yeah.
Yeah.
That has been a
Mm.
problem.
Will also be interesting, and I haven't even started to think about this yet, I mean, at Pollard, you know, you have a certain electrical service at Pollard is not great. Fazio, we don't have any buildings there, so, I mean, it's a long 135, so I imagine it's not difficult, but you're gonna need a fair amount of electricity, because there's nothing else on that site that uses a lot of electricity.
Right. We have to upgrade. Sure.
But also Broadmeadow and Elliott are transitioning to air source heat pumps for their rooftop units.
Yep.
So little by little.
Yep, they're coming in, being installed now, and it's great.
I'll just keep. Maybe some thing.
Your number 11. The North Hill, because they probably still are. But they weren't an all electric building when they were built, because they had no gas going up there. And you think about the size of that building, all heated by resistance heating, because they're old. But Their electric bills, I remember we engaged with them early on in Grenada. They were looking for ways to be more energy efficient because literally they were burning money because it's all resistance heat up there. So I know that they've been working on it. They progress this point.
Well, so I just met with their facilities director, who's new. He's only been here a couple of months. But he seems great and is very gung ho about supporting efficiency and electrification. So I did not get the lowdown from him about how he feels like his current efficiency is for the buildings, but he was more interested in trying to figure out if there's opportunities they can go after for grants or resource incentives.
Right.
But I'm hoping that'll be the first conversation of many. I think they're really interested in opportunities to collaborate with the town, so really good partner.
That could also be a good communications effort as we start to build more awareness around electrifying Needham with a lowercase.
Agreed. Yeah, that's it. Any other questions?
Number 2. On other.
Oh, Sure, so. The select board had included in their FY25, FY26 goals, the development of a climate communications strategy. Which, I think they're interpreting a little bit more broadly than just an electrify campaign. So I've started meeting with Amy, our communications director, to talk about trying to develop a calendar for outreach. Hopefully that would start this fall if the select board signs off on it. That would cover all of the roadmap action categories, so all 6 of them. We just started this conversation, so I'm not exactly sure exactly what this is gonna look like yet, but my hope is once I have something sketched out, maybe to bring it back to this group for input. Because I'm hoping that would be a combination of in person and online and other opportunities for engagement. Yeah.
Does this tie in, we've talked in the past about going to other committees and, doing your 10-minute agenda items. Say, well, okay, this is what, going to the planning board, this is what climate action does. Would this be part of that, or is that separate? I mean,
Yeah, I was originally thinking it would be separate, that this would be more resident, like
general
business
public outreach.
focused.
Public,
Okay.
yeah.
Just because I had seen that as a step. I'm remembering the roadmap section correctly. I think that was a separate action, because
Okay.
I had parsed this out separately, but if we, think it makes more sense to combine those, we could look at that too.
They can be, I mean, they're related, but they're cousins.
Yeah. Yeah, if there's a good tie in with another committee or board, I think that, makes sense.
I would like to actually talk with you about that, because we talked for Green Needham next year. We kind of came up with an idea for us for next year. It's our 20th anniversary of using the year to basically pick a topic each month, right, and highlight what we've done, and what the community has done. And so I think we could, coordinate so that as you're thinking about how you want to do outreach on the 6 topics, they will obviously overlap completely, but it would be great if you were like thinking of doing overreach in the spraying on, EVs, that we would maybe make
Yeah.
that the month that we focus on what we've done for EVs or solar. I mean, I think we could do some
Yeah.
really neat stuff.
Yeah,
But that was kind of our thought for next year, to really re-engage the community in what we do, and reminding them how much we all have accomplished.
Yeah,
So I
that
think
sounds
that would be a
wonderful.
great
Yeah,
way to
you-
do that with you.
I would love to chat more about that.
Okay.
Let me know, and I'm happy to chat about it. Yeah.
Got it.
Okay, anything else? I have to stop sharing, switch to the graph. Well, oh, isn't that? So from our last couple meetings, we talked about setting up a set calendar for fiscal year 2026. So I tried to look at the first Mondays, but in instances where there was a holiday or also like a conflicting meeting for an existing committee or board of which we have a designee. Or no, well, yeah, those are I was primarily looking at. So I ended up having a lot of Thursdays, which I know we talked about as our backup date for when Mondays didn't work. So this is what I came up with for the next several months, but would love to check this with the group to see if anyone sees any issues, especially those of you who are representing other boards and committees as well. I did try to check all of the ones that I could see things for online. It's a little bit hard because not everybody has their 2026 dates up, so I'm going off my best guess about when I think these other boards and committees are meeting. But we have welcome input on this if anyone sees any issues.
You haven't sent that to us yet, have you?
It's, yes, it was
It
sent
was-
in the
It
email.
was in the, okay.
Yeah.
That's where I didn't see it, I would check.
Yep, that's okay.
This December 11 might be a conservation commission. It's a second Thursday, but if that's the only one, that's not bad.
Okay.
I'm sure there will be.
It's a very good committee.
Good.
Fine.
Yeah.
In the fall,
Yeah.
and there's no conflict with PVPC, there's a.
I don't see conflicts in my calendar.
Generally good.
Thank you for putting this together. This
Yeah, I'd
good
love
bit of
to.
work. This is a little sleuthing.
Let's commit to these, put them on the website so everybody knows where we're meeting.
This would be great to have this all up there for the next.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, I'll take a look and let you know.
Okay.
It's okay, I mean, there's gonna be some, I know for me, no matter what you do, there'll be some roast, that's fine. Okay, if we get most of them, and, those are, I think, are the best days of the week to avoid the unavoidable conflicts,
Okay.
except for PVC Monday.
Yeah, BBC is hard because sometimes you guys are meeting on the first or the third, or the second or the fourth. I imagine you're gonna be meeting.
But we start at 7:30, so.
Yeah,
that's
that's
true.
the other
Starting
piece.
this at 6, I
Yeah.
can usually
Right.
tell them I'm gonna be half hour late.
Good. All right, great.
okay.
If anyone thinks of any other things, though, let me know. Otherwise, I will plan on resending this out to everybody and putting this on the website as well.
Barry, I think you're happy we stop in June next year and don't go further into July and August.
Much
Another
appreciated,
page.
much appreciated. No, I don't, other than personal conflicts, I certainly, there are no FinCom conflicts. We're pretty consistent about Wednesdays.
Glad to hear that. Okay.
Besides, I can take these from anywhere.
Mhm.
Commit working group activity, do you wanna go into the Needham Power Choice?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So we got Gabby just got the latest and most accurate update on the Needham Power Choice
Oh, excellent.
enrollment numbers, and I had been playing with the rough greenhouse gas impacts of that. So it's not as, I think initially we had said 1%. Or that's Power Choice said 1%, we're on 100% green, it's,
I think those were asked
yeah.
from the supplier, but they weren't giving us individual households. And now that we're a little further along, we get that breakdown by household, so we can see what our numbers actually are.
But I believe this is pretty typical for what they see, correct?
Yes, I think this reflects an average. They did say our number for standard was a little bit higher than what they typically see. They actually usually see a little bit higher on the basic option and a little bit less on standard. We're an average, I would say, for the 100% green option, with the caveat that we don't have a dedicated long-term outreach program developed right now for the 100% green option. That was something that Mass Power Choice had, warned us about back in December, that for communities who don't have that dedicated, like, sustained drumbeat trying to elevate the 100% green option, they usually see, I think the average is about like 0.5%. So we're pretty close to that right now.
Hey,
And-
Gabby, can you remind me, what was the rate differential between 100% green and standard?
Um,
Like 13 something,
The-
15 something.
the standard rate just went up to 14 and change
For Eversource,
for Eversource.
not for.
You're
not
talking
for
about
Green
the-
Power.
Oh, I'm sorry, the standard, the difference between standard and 100% green,
Our standard hasn't changed.
It's
it's,
yeah, we
correct,
talked about that.
it's about a $15 a month
50 cents.
difference for
Gotcha.
their
Typical.
typical household. What's gone up, Eversource's basic service rate just went up to
Right,
15.
yeah, I
Three,
saw that.
15.2.
Yeah.
I did some back of the envelope calculations as far as what the cost impact is, and then what the overall impact for Needham is in terms of both emissions and dollar savings. And I don't have them with me at the moment, but it's it's a decent amount. My takeaway, and of course I'm biased, is that the 100% green is a small chunk to pay. It's got almost a 5 times impact in terms of the emissions impact from what I calculated. Because your the standard is 42% basically, and so we're adding an extra 58%.
New England.
New England, yeah, real green.
But it's human nature, right? We're all economic animals at the end of the day. I mean, this is more proof of that. And
Although.
This reminds me of behavioral economics, that Barry, whatever you put people in, they stay in.
yeah,
We refresh the idea of what those groups that actually did make a higher impact, like Lincoln, right?
Yeah,
So
Lincoln.
what can you refresh how that happened and why it happened?
Lincoln, the comment that Mass Power Choice made with Lincoln, which made they said basically it's a small town. Everybody knows each other, and there may be 10% green. They saw that as an outlier, and there was a case where there was a lot of evangelizing, I think, among the interconnected green people. Newton has a high rate, and that was due to a steady drumbeat. One of the things that we're going to be trying to do with Green Needham is getting kind of doing little profiles of why did people change? What prompted them? I believe the one small business account on there is one of the churches.
Yes.
And so that's an interesting thing. Why
And that
they
was
did.
because of the advocacy of.
I mean, I think you have to people aren't gonna choose this by default, especially because this was something that came in the mail. A lot of people weren't paying attention. I think you really need to, you need to put something together to show what the difference is and show what the difference means. I think there will be more people who are willing to say, yeah, gee, that's not very much, especially as rates change. I mean, the fact that Eversource's rate, again, it's a 6-month rate, we go down again. But the point is, when you see how little the difference is for half the year, and you put it in front of people with, here's what you're getting. I think we will get more people to do it. No, you're not gonna convince, 20% of people to do it, but I think more people will want to do it. But you have to really put it in front of them in a way that they can see it. Because nobody really, unless they were looking for it, and I suspect the people who chose it, like me, were looking for it because we knew about it.
Also, when we launched it, it was just, right after the referendum on, in the TA zone. So people may have been tuned out to communications and, so I think one of the next orders of business, at least with, my Green Needham hat, is to try and, I've got a blog post in the works, and to try and keep up that drumbeat. It might be, if we can coordinate too with, town communications. I believe they had something,
Yep, the
a
town.
couple weeks ago, and then you need them.
Yeah, so the town has done. I think it's been like once every other month, we put a blurb into. News You Need 'Em, letting folks know about the program, and then every so often, social media as well. And one of the social media posts that the town has done has emphasized the 100% green option to just explain what it is. But it's been a mix of all three program options being highlighted. So the town hasn't said we're gonna do like a separate campaign that's just focused on 100% green, but promoting all three. And that was the decision at the time, because there was concern about whether focusing on just 100% green was gonna lead folks to decide not to participate in the program, but they didn't feel like other options were available to them. Maybe that's something to revisit in the future. But I will say, like, the plan is that we will continue to have regular communications about what the program is, and News You Need Them on social media as well. These 6-month updates with Eversource, there will be another round of public outreach to let folks know about the new Eversource prices. And then in a year, it's gonna be time for us to go back out to get a new supplier, so we'll have, again, more outreach at that point as well.
This is data through the end of June.
Just through the end of June 2025.
Okay.
I mean, it's a little bit unfortunate that we couldn't, both because what else was going on in our own preparedness to the campaign at the beginning, because, we knew that the standard option was gonna be less than Eversource. So, getting people while they were already paying Eversource rates, which go up for 6 months, they go down for 6 months, was an easier lift than now, because you've got a bigger spread now. And again, for people who care about it, it's not huge, but it's more than it is from Eversource to go to green.
I think if this group wants to see a dedicated campaign from the town.
Yeah,
For this,
no, I agree.
I think that needs to be communicated to the select board, that should be a goal, because I
And
don't think they've heard that yet.
When we presented this initially, I think it came down from Kate that, to focus on the program as a whole, which I thought was good, and it's something that Green Needham can start by pushing this. And
Yep, and there was a conversation at the chairs meeting as well, so they were part of that decision-making process, but that was the concern, was that would we lose more people if we just focused on this one aspect of the program? And now it's been a few months, the program's running, so if that is something that the committee wants to see included, I just think the select board needs to hear that clearly.
There's no windows that for changing, or is there, you can do this at any point in time with?
Exactly, you can
Okay.
change anytime, you can opt up, you can opt down, you can opt out at any time.
No penalties.
right,
And the other thing that people might start hearing about is the heat pump rate change that's coming in December. My understanding that that's a rebate on the delivery charge, not on the generation charge.
correct.
So that means that even if you are in one of these programs, if you have heat pumps, you will get the benefit of a lower delivery charge.
Sure.
Yeah.
Starting December.
I think it's November.
I think it's November, just advanced, it was just approved.
Unrelated to this. And my understanding, average about $500 for the winter, right?
For the reasons. Yeah, we are gonna do messaging for that next week. We're just trying to tweak how to explain that with the Empower Choice, but we are gonna be highlighting that program with the hopes that whoever has take advantage of that.
So this is something Eversource is offering? or-
This is the Department of Public Utilities
Um,
has approved winter rate for now the three major utilities in the state. So there's a discounted rate if you have a heat pump. It's for November through April.
So it'll be so the electric rates will vary by season.
Yeah, so they'll be.
Well, they already
lower.
do.
The
But
delivery.
the delivery charge that you pay will be lower if you have a heat pump.
I see.
Now, I believe I thought they were increasing it ever so slightly in the summer.
What, I mean, the heat pump rate or
The
the?
heat pump rate.
I had not heard that. I'd only heard it would be going down in the winter. Those-
I think there's a tiny adjustment, but it's not very big.
I think the issue is that because there's less electricity usage in the winter. What's been happening is that heat pumps, which operate in the winter, are taking the lion's share or having to cover the lion's share of the delivery charges for the utilities. And what the state's saying is, you gotta give them a break. They're doing the right thing.
I see.
They can't be carrying the full burden for the delivery charges for the winter. Give them a rebate during the winter. During the summer, everybody's back on even footing, because you've got ACs running. Everybody.
However, if you have heat pumps, your heat pumps are turning your AC, it's certainly something the DBU could, right? Because
Yeah.
you're much more efficiently producing
You should.
AC if you have heat pumps,
Mhm.
and they really should offer something even in the summer when they need that electricity even more.
They should, but I think the
But-
penalty was much bigger in
Yeah.
the winter.
Yeah,
So that's what they're doing, is they're not gonna touch these rates.
Yeah.
The delivery and the generation, electricity supplier charges are separate on your bill. They're giving the rebate on the delivery side.
And does one register for this lower rate with Eversource? Or how does one
Well, if
register?
you
for it?
got a rebate for a heat pump within the past 2 or 3 years, Mass Save is supposed to, they have your information.
It should be automatic.
But they
It would
will
be
be
automatic.
messaging about how to do it.
I think.
You should still call though.
You can call and request.
Yeah, I think they're gonna do a dedicated website similar to what Unitil has. They don't have that up yet, but if you call Eversource customer service and let them know you're interested, they should verify that you're included in their rate. And even if you did get that rebate, 2022 or later, you should still do it. I've even heard that from Eversource that they're like, yeah, you should probably double check.
You probably want to check to make sure you're actually getting the rate.
Sure. 'Cause it's a-
But yeah, they have all that information, but we all know that because they have, it doesn't mean they use it correctly.
Gabby, can you go back to the kilowatt hour cost slide?
Oh, sure.
That was
That
the
was,
one.
that was,
Beautiful.
from the website, but I can pull it up again. Yeah. This is the program website.
So if you're still in Eversource, their green percent is higher than our Needham standard right now.
The cost for the Needham 100% green program option is higher than Needham standard
Yeah.
because it has a larger
I
number
know that.
of
but
recs,
if
and
you
it's
were
also,
still-
The percent
it's
green
also
is-
higher than the Eversource basic.
Eversource
you mean
basic, Eversource and the two on the far right are 27%.
Okay.
New England, class 1 renewables.
What's shown on the right is the new Eversource basic residential rate, the 14.84.
August through February.
Yes, yep, exactly, just 6 months.
And it is always higher than it's always higher than the February to August rate, right? Yeah, one of the,
It varies. Usually the winter rate is higher, but
yeah, but this covers most of winter, right? So yeah.
So we can do better than on the Needham 100 green than what we're doing.
There's definitely room for improvement. We've got
But it's,
25 households right now.
It's now close, so.
How many people on the green Needham mailing list?
Wasn't so. No, I think, we need to, I just wish we had been able to do it when it was.
well, I mean, one of the things that I shared some carbon impact figures with Gabby this morning, and I have to go back and verify those numbers and see where I got them, but it's, you know, translating it into number of miles driven, or, you know, gallons of gas, barbecue grills. It's amazing just how many miles one household switching.
Let's say it's a quarter of your footprint, right?
Yeah.
If you wipe out a quarter of your footprint,
For how much? Like,
how much?
Well, the average house is 740 kilowatt hours. So you can calculate out the carbon impact and then translate that into, you know, typical miles driven and you know, gives people something very graphic.
2.5 swimming pools filled with
Well,
carbon.
or, you know, it's kind of the equivalent of Trader Joe's parking lots.
Yeah.
Empty. So there's a lot of,
We've also got for a lot, I mean, even that differential, you've got. What, 700, so maybe 10% of the households almost in need have solar, so they're spending less on electricity. Right? And so they can go to green, and they're obviously interested in green because they put solar up for even less, because they're not using as much electricity as most people do.
well, this is something that came up during one of the presentation systems. Somebody said to us, you know, gee, I never thought about it, but this covers my nighttime usage. I have solar, but I'm still pulling from the grid. Um, and I'm not pulling much, so it was no, you know, there are a lot of different ways to sell this too.
Mhm.
You know, if you have solar, here's why you should.
You could still, you should.
Yeah.
could still do it, yeah.
So I think, Michael, you and I have our homework kind of.
Yeah, we do.
You could look at it as, quite a very low floor right now, so. Can only go
Yeah.
up, right? So-
Right.
25 more, you'll
Only
double it.
25.
Yeah.
And then, you know, the other thing is to point out, you're looking at a $10 a month, $15 a month differential, which will buy you a couple of coffees and croissants.
Question, have you bought?
So any other issues?
I guess we move to adjourn.
Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
Okay, in favor, Michael?
Hi.
Fred? Aye.
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 Erwin?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
Barry?
Aye.
And aye from the chair.
Thanks all.
Thank you.
Everybody.
Well,